Good evening. Welcome to Weekdays with Wendy. My name is Reverend Josh Attaway, and it's my pleasure to be hosting Weekdays with Wendy this evening. You know that every day this year, we've been ending each day by taking time to look at our flip calendar that's all about our theme for the year of love your neighbor, no exceptions. We've been looking at these daily scriptures and quotes to give us inspiration as we end our day every day to focus on how we can live out that message of loving our neighbor just as Christ has called us to. Today's quote from the calendar comes from the letter to the Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Follow God's example, therefore, as dearly loved children, and walk in the way of love, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. Walk in the way of love, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us. Recently, I was doing a study with one of our men's groups on the book Savior by Reverend Magret de Vega. In the book, he talks about these different ways that we often think about what Jesus did for us on the cross and what it really means for us. In the book, as he was talking about this, he told a story about the show Winnie the Pooh. He said that there was an episode where they declared it an un-Valentine's Day. See, all of the characters had gotten together at Rabbit's house, and they were reflecting back on the previous Valentine's Day from the year before. And that year, all of the gift giving and the cards, it had just become so much. They were giving each other a gazillion cards, that's what they said. It was overflowing their homes. It was just becoming obnoxious. It was becoming competitive. It had really lost the point of what showing love is supposed to all be about. It was more self-serving, competitive, wanting to one-up each other. It wasn't really love. And so Rabbit and the others had declared that this year they were going to have an un-Valentine's Day, and they wouldn't give any gifts or cards. They weren't even recognizing Valentine's Day. Well, that was until Valentine's Day morning when Pooh woke up and he looked and he found a pot of honey sitting just outside his door. He, of course, ate this pot of honey as he always did. And then he thought about it and he said, there's only one person that this could have come from. It must have been from my good friend Piglet. And so he went over to Piglet, and out of a spirit of gratitude, he left a small gift for him, just to say thank you for what he had done. Well, Piglet found this gift, and he was so grateful for this that he assumed it must have been one of the other characters. And so then he went and took them a gift and surprised them and left it. You can see how this would keep going. And one after another, they continued to give gifts to each other until finally it was Rabbit that received a carrot wrapped on his doorstep. In the end, it turned out that it wasn't Piglet that had left that pot of honey for Pooh. It was their good friend Christopher Robin, who had shown them the way of love. That love isn't about competitiveness. It's not about who can one-up the other or who can give the best gifts or the most cards. It was about giving out of a spirit of love, sacrificing for somebody else, thinking about somebody else before yourself, humility. Christopher Robin had shown them the way of love and led them back to finding what it meant to love one another. That's what Christ has done for us. He has shown us the way of love. Through his sacrifice for us, he's shown us that love is humble, it is serving, it is sacrificial. That's how we're called to love one another. So I pray that as we end this day, as we prepare ourselves for the next day, that we might be able to walk in that way of love. Not trying to one-up each other or show off or bring attention to ourselves, but to live in a humble spirit and a sacrificial kind of love, loving all of our neighbors, no exceptions. Have a great evening.